Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Grow As We Go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Fatima.
Hi, everyone. I'm Angie.
Hi, I'm Diana.
And I'm Ashley. If you haven't noticed, we are strong encouragers of reflection and in this podcast, so we thought that this is a perfect episode to kind of just like reflect on what 2020 was.
I think a lot of us definitely jinxed it because I remember when we were in high school, they were like, oh my gosh, class of 2020, it's going to be so dope, blah, blah, blah.
Dude,
and look at them. They didn't even get to
Oh.
graduate properly. We
And-
really jinxed it. I feel so bad now.
No, and the whole hype of the like new
2020.
the new decade, the
2020,
roaring
2020
20s. Like,
vision.
I remember that being a whole hype. Like, everybody was talking about how this was going to be like the decade that a lot of us are going to have kids and like a decade of fat change. And
This is going to be our year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could still be our year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people did get pregnant this year because, I mean, they had nothing else to do in quarantine.
I definitely do think there's a baby boom that boosted from this.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I know there's been a lot of talking about the Great Depression and how that's led to like the Great Gatsby and like that boom, the Roaring 20s. So I actually just saw an article today about this historian saying or predicting that we're gonna basically experience the same lifestyle that happened in the Roaring 20s. And I'm not against it.
You know what freaks me out though is that isn't it crazy how I think that's just a testimony of how history kind of repeats itself in its own way, you know? I think it's like a test. It's like we're getting like tests from whatever you believe in, like the universe or whoever, like testing humanity to see if we're learning the lessons that we need to be learning. But we're probably not. So like in some way, the core of the issues keep happening until we get it right. But who knows? Like
That is really
It's a life cycle every 100 years. And it goes and goes.
I never thought about it like that. It's kind of scary.
I could easily say that I definitely learned a lot this year.
Exactly.
A lot.
I feel like people, like, if you're looking back at it, you're like, oh, 2020, it was such a terrible year. Like, it literally sucked so much for everybody. But, like, if you think about it and you actually, like, reflect, I feel like we all grew a lot this year. And
100%.
But I think it all just has to do with perspective and the way that you look at it. Like, everything has perspective and stuff. And I feel like if you think about different aspects of your life and, like, you yourself, you definitely grew up as an individual.
100%.
I think also this year, like, social media has like very much highlighted truth that's always been there, and social media has really gotten people aware of, like, for an example, George Floyd, and that like spread like wildfire, and like the BLM movement and all of that. I feel like social media has really been very prominent this year, and for connecting, even like how we can't even see each other. And I think like if like, for an example, my parents weren't aware of what was going on, like I'm talking about racism, and I think that social media has really pushed that to the older people that weren't aware of it, or they were too ignorant to, maybe like they hear it so much and they were like forced to, you know, swallow that pill.
Finally recognize what has been going on for decades, centuries.
And you know what? I also feel like social media became like a platform to, I don't know how to say it, but I feel like so much activism. Like before social media, at least for me, it's more so just like, oh, look at these pictures, look at these celebrities doing all these like fun things, you know? But I feel like this year it definitely became a year like it was used for the right thing, and it was used intentionally, and like I followed so many pages that were so informational, and I'm so glad that they came about this year. Like there's this one Instagram page called, I think it's like What You Should Care About or something like that. And
there's another one so you want to talk about blank.
Yes, that has been my favorite Instagram page, So You Want to Talk About, because there's just so many information that, you know, like it's kind of like you're just scrolling through your feed and you're seeing a post and like, oh, so like you don't really have to go out of your way to like Google so and so things, you know? So I feel like it's a way to bring information into yourself. But at the same time, like, I have to remind myself, like, it can't be that, what's that word? It gets
You got to be media literate in the sense of like you got to always understand there is biases everywhere, and always fact check, look into who's making the articles, look into what articles they use to create information, especially in this era of information war. There's just a lot of information that's being depicted in so many different ways, so it's so important to really, especially now more than ever, to look into those things and be more conscious of where this information is stemming from and the biases that is held within the information and all that. And honestly, and it's something that we have never been taught. Like, we have never been taught to be media literate, especially the generations before us. They don't understand media. They see media as it being the truth. They don't really know how to navigate it. So if they see something on Facebook, they're automatically going to assume like, exactly. Oh, I saw this on Facebook. No, this is true. And luckily we have grown up to be more conscious of social media. We know how to navigate it. So we have a little bit of an advantage of information. I love that you brought that up, because that's one of the things that I'm really thankful for this year, of how a lot of people have made the conscious decision to kind of shift activism through their social media and using their platform to really promote and
like start conversations that people are kind of scared to have.
And I feel like that's kind of like the good and bad thing that comes out of having like a year that's been prominent on social media. Like, you have the good, like anything, like there's the good and the bad. And I feel like it just has to be on us to see how we're going to differentiate the good from bad. What I mean by bad is like fake news and how you're going to expose the truth behind that information.
Yeah, I found myself having this responsibility to tell my parents about the right truth and the right information, because they would tell me about this that they would like hear from other sources, and I would have to really investigate for them, and like we would have to find the truth, because it was like a very learning experience for both sides, I think. And how you were saying, Angie, I think that this year has really pushed the people that weren't aware of how they were viewing and how their actions were towards people, and like it has changed them, and now they're like, oh, I want to change. Oh, I didn't know that.
And I think our generation has that advantage of growing up with technology, so we pretty much learned growing up on how to use it and how to use the right resources. And like you said, one of you guys said that my parents would say, oh, I got this from Facebook, I saw this on Facebook, and you just kind of have to teach them. And it was kind of, sometimes I kind of do feel under pressure, because I'm just like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Because they kind of rely on me to tell them what's right and what's wrong and what's telling the truth and what's not. This year has definitely opened my eyes and my parents' eyes on what resources are more important than others and what really tells the truth or not. Especially with the BLM movement, and then like the election this year has definitely brought a lot of tension. Like even people in my family too, like it has definitely brought tension, and it was just a information war pretty much.
The responsibility of teaching our families kind of fell on us. It fell on us in some way, or we felt like we had an obligation to teach them.
And you're right. Like, I feel like I definitely like found myself like having to explain certain videos to like my family members and showing them. But overall, I think what's most important is listening from people when they speak from experience. I feel like that's the greatest source in a way, when people are speaking from their experience. Like, I had this happen to me, because that's an easier way for us to empathize with people. Because yeah, somebody can be talking to you about certain things that are happening, like systemic racism, but then you can say this affected me because here, and just personal anecdotes. That information can be relayed or understood easier. This one story that I saw about how this LGBTQ guy explained to his grandma how voting for a certain candidate would affect him, and she changed her vote because of her grandson explaining to him.
And it's so crazy to reflect on this year, because not only did we go through a global pandemic, but we also went through a really important election that there's been a lot of anxiety. I even getting the chills talking about it now, because I was thinking, ooh, I'm about to cry.
I know, I'm getting chills.
Ooh, I just feel like November was, especially early November and like the months leading up to November, especially November 3rd, that even talking about it brings back how thick the tension was in the world. The energy was super thick, and everything felt on the line, at least for me and for people that I really, really care about.
Yeah. It felt like a tug of war. It literally felt like a tug of war.
It was just a time, like, it was just so stressful for everybody.
I think being around community and being with amongst other people and talking about these things helps a lot. I think being cooped up in your room and being cooped up in your space, the same consistent space that you have been the entire year during such a heightened, stressful time, that was for me, I totally agree with you, pushed me over the edge in so many ways. it's a lot. It was a lot.
We can all agree that we've been through a lot this year, whether it be from the global pandemic to social justice movements, to your own self, to your family, to losing people. And I feel like it's good to reflect, as Ashley always advocates. So we shouldn't be hard on ourselves and say that 2020 was a shitty year, because after all these events that's happened, we can say that we've grown from them and there has been a lot of growth because of them. Yeah. And I think seeing the positive sides of the 2020 is more effective than looking at it being a shitty year and hating it, you know, and just embracing what happened and accepting it and hoping that change will happen next year.
And I feel like you hit this theme perfectly on this post that I saw, and I'm pretty sure it circulated through social media, especially during the BLM movement in the summer, and it was like, I don't want to go back to normal. Our new normal is completely different now because of all these things that have been there already, but as a society we have been kind of oblivious to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and it's so true, going back to the new year, and when we start to like slowly start to integrate our lives back to how it was, I don't want to go back to the normal how things were. We're gonna re-enter this society completely different, but I think this change was so necessary. Yeah. So very necessary, and I'm excited to see where we go as a society and as our generation and the future generations to go. I'm excited to see where this goes and how we shift the world, the conscious collective in general, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that we should look forward in 2021 and like kind of the next years, because like I feel like change is gonna come. Like, yes, 2020 was a lot of change, but I just feel like change is gonna come again, and I'm so excited to kind of be a part of it and see how we can navigate our lives to create a better country, world for like not only ourselves but like for our future generations that are to come.
Yeah,
for the people who will stand on all
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
It's for them.
I think we definitely went through the scary part of the change, and I'm really hoping that next year is going to be the best outcome of the scary part of the change.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the realization is very scary.
That's,
and I think that now it's
part.
Like implementation and the action.
Yes, that's so good that you bring it up, because I feel like the first thing, or I don't know if it's like I don't know where I heard this from, but it's like the first thing is always realization. Like that's always the first thing, and that's the hardest thing, is to realize like stuff.
It was a big slap in the face this year.
And like Kylie Jenner said, or what did she say? She's like, it's just gonna be like a year of like realizing things. I feel like that definitely is what 2020 was.
No, for sure.
So how do you guys think you have changed personally in 2020?
Oof. That's a load of a question.
Because I'm pretty sure we were not the same person we were in the beginning of the year that we are now.
I feel like this year, and going again with the theme of how this year went, and I'm not surprised, but I've never have noticed a bigger change within myself than I have in this year. Like, I think about who I was in January, in February, or March, even in August. I feel like a completely different person who I am now in December, for the better. Oh, it makes me so emotional talking about this, because I feel like this is something that I feel like my spirit, my soul has been like searching for a really long time. So I'm really thankful for this year. But I feel like I have been tapping into myself, and I'm really thankful to be surrounded by women like you, like all you guys, because you all bring out the best in me, in the sense of you guys are always preaching about, you know, being present and being in the moment and self-love and self-care. And I feel like that's exactly what this year has been for me. It has been a lot of reflection and a lot of self-care, a lot of healing, a lot of being in the present. And I'm getting so emotional because I'm so thankful for where I am now, because it was a rocky ass year.
Yeah.
And it makes me so happy, because it's like such a liberating happy, because I'm like, holy fuck, this is a person like I've been waiting for for so long, and now she's here, and I'm like so excited to like jump into this year as my best self that I will continue to work for. And I'm just so thankful for that.
That makes me so happy to hear. Like,
yeah,
I feel like so many people can say the same thing. I feel like same as me. Like, I have been more aware of like my own mental health, my own being self-aware and being present in the moment, and kind of just like taking everything that I do, taking it all in and not taking it for granted, and trying to take everything in for all its glory. And I know that the next step is just kind of doing that, like taking everything in all its glory, because we have been deprived from so much in 2020, but at the same time, I feel like we've gained a lot personally and internally. At least that's how it has been for me.
my mission statement really emphasizes how I try to be the best version of myself in every aspect of my life, whether it be a daughter, a sister, a friend, a dog mom, an aunt. And I think that has really solidified in this year because I found how important it is for family to be together. And for me, since this whole pandemic, I've really embraced how important that is, and uniting and having unconditional love through like the political events that we've been through, and how to really empathize with other people's views. And I myself have become more aware of my own views and how that's affected me and other people as well. And I think, like how you were saying, Angie, I have definitely grown, and I wouldn't have recognized the person before, like last year. And I think now I hold very strong to my heart my values even more, my principles even more. And I'm just very excited in what this next journey has for us. And I hope that it's worthwhile. And if it's not, then it's okay.
That's beautiful.
I love that.
That was beautiful.
I can honestly agree with a lot of what you said, Diana. I've definitely become more aware of my own thoughts and how it affects other people, especially this year, how it was with the BLM movement, the pandemic itself, a lot of people thinking it's a hoax, and politically as well. I'm not going to lie, I've never been very politically involved and educated. I mean, I have been educated, but just not
as much.
Very aware what certain things are meaning. Yeah, exactly. And this year has very much motivated me to be more educated and be more aware of what's going on, because we're the future. The future is in our hands. We're the next example. This year was very, very eye-opening for me, even though I did go through so much emotionally, mentally, physically. I've learned to not be afraid to express my feelings, because my feelings are valid. Exactly. I definitely think I matured from the person I was in the beginning of the year to this year. I've definitely matured. I've definitely become more educated and more self-aware
and stronger.
Definitely more open-minded and stronger.
I love that.
I think that's something that we all have, not just us four, but I feel like as a whole country, as a whole society, I feel like we've all grown stronger.
100%. And I think I think it has a lot to do with how uncomfortable this year has been. And I feel like a lot growth stems from being uncomfortable. And we were uncomfortable the entire year through the fat changes that we've been through. Change and growth is, the growing pains hurt and they ache and they feel like they could last forever. But like that moment where you feel like you're finally reaching over that hump and you're breaking over that hill.
You're about to
so beautiful.
Reach your first breath fresh air after being underwater.
That first breath is so liberating, and I feel like that is exactly like what this year has us to look forward to, is that breath, like that breath of fresh air was like, fuck, I'm liberated in so many ways. Being stuck in my mind, I'm liberated from. Being liberated from like what has been suppressed and not been shown on social media. I'm liberated from that. I'm being liberated from the normalities that society puts upon us, to how we should live our lives day to day, what we should value. Like, I'm liberated from that. Now we're rewriting. I feel like we're going to go back into society living the way that we actually want to live it as individuals. And I feel like that is fucking awesome. And I'm so thankful for it.
You hit it to the T. 2021, or when things start to get better, I feel like we're going to go into society with the right foot forward and doing stuff that makes us genuinely happy, or things that we can do to make us genuinely happy. Like, take advantage of that we have that privilege to do it and not be held back by a global pandemic. So with that being said, how are we going to prepare for 2021? Because I am so excited. It's going to be a pretty big year for all of us.
I'm actually very excited because I've been preparing pretty much my transition into 2021. I've been cleaning out my closet. I've been organizing my room. I've been buying books. I really wanted to get into reading. Like Diana and Angie, I know you guys read a lot, and that has really inspired me to read and get into books, living consciously, and more self-care, because I think this year I haven't really put myself first, and I feel like that's why this year I've been going through so much anxiety and kind of depression in a way. But I know I wasn't the only one, because I know this year many people have been affected by it personally. But I think because of this year, it made me realize so many things. Although the past hurts, we make those changes in the future, so we won't go through those things again.
That's really exciting. I'm so excited.
I thought about Lion King in that moment. If you know what I'm talking about.
Dude, Rafiki's a go. I'm telling you. I love that little dude. Like, I love Rafiki.
If I'm being honest, when I think of 2021, I see lots of colorful colors, but it's very like unknown. Like, I have no idea what to expect. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm very positive. I'm very optimistic about it. And I think the unknown kind of scares me, but I know that that's really good to have that fear, because you know that something's good going to happen. And you can't control your past or your future. You can only control your present. And so if you're optimistic about the future, then you have nothing to worry about. But also, if it's a shitty year again, I'll be okay, and I know it'll be okay. I'll accept it. I'm not gonna dwell myself in suffering because of that.
Yes, beautiful. I love that. You know, when people say "New Year, New Me," I've always been kind of against that, or not against, but annoyed about that statement, because I'm just change right now. You know?
Yeah.
Because that's why I'm not much of a New Year's resolutions type of person, because it's just do it right now. But I definitely feel after what we experienced 2020, and for the first time in a long time, I think for the first time in ever, I'm kind of excited to go into 2021. I know it's still going to be the same, we're still going to be having nothing's going to change that much, and at least in the beginning. But I feel just kind of that conscious saying that's a new year, telling yourself it's a new year. I feel that's really helpful, and I never thought that I would be saying "New Year, New Me," but but I feel New Year, a better version of me. You know?
Yeah.
I like what Diana said a lot, is that I'm very optimistic. I'm looking forward to 2021 with no expectations.
There you go. No expectations.
Because we don't know what we didn't know we were going to experience what we experienced in 2020. So I feel looking forward, but with no expectations, is how I'm preparing for 2021.
Exactly. I'm a little bit of the opposite. I love, I think since I was little, I think I've always really liked New Year's. I'm a big dreamer. So I'm the type of person, when I was little, I would wish upon stars. So New Year's was always I used to just really love the idea of writing down New Year's goals and writing down what it is. I think it's because one is stemmed from traditions that I had with my family, eating the uvas and doing your 12 wishes and eating the uvas. So going back to that, and I remember I remember running around at one of our best friends Brittany's house, and we're little, we would go and get maletas and run around the block to say and scream out loud where we wanted to travel. And that was our way of manifesting that we wanted to travel.
So
I
remember that.
It's it's I just remember it. I think that's the traditions is what makes me really love New Year's. But what has helped me actually make New Year's resolutions more practical, I think starting that reflection a little bit ahead of time before the new year is so that way you could start implementing habits that you want to implement you bring those into the new year already implemented. I feel that's really so important, and that kind of helps you kind of kickstart the process, I guess. Yeah. So that's kind of been my goal, is to start, at least this year, to start doing that sooner. And vision boards, I never really believed in them until I did one this year. And I remember I could little show and tell
for our YouTube viewers.
It's yeah, anybody who's watching this on YouTube, and we could probably post it on the story. But my vision board, I remember in the beginning, and every single picture on this vision board has its own meaning and why I decided to put it on the board. And it kind of stemmed to exactly what I wanted this year to look like for myself. And it's so crazy because we were talking about beginnings, and I had put may the sunrise bring you peace and fill your soul with possibility. And I think that kind of goes into liking beginnings. And I remember doing this vision board and putting things my spirituality and how I wanted to be more at peace and kind of get in tune with myself. And those are kind of what the Buddha and the stones and the yoga and the meditation kind of represent. And there's this little thing that says 1 minute, don't read, don't talk, no photos, just look and see. And I think that kind of represents that shift in being more conscious and being more present. And it's so crazy because those things that I put on this board, those are the things that I didn't think I would get. Going into this year, I remember putting it on, and those are the last things that I expected. I was I probably won't get there. Yeah. I don't even know where to start. But I think it's crazy because
it happened.
It happened, and I don't even know where to begin how it happened, but it's, I think the fact of I seeing it every day, and subconsciously I just started to, because I wanted it so deeply, I started to shift that way. And having this as a reminder, the first thing that I wake up, it's on my board right in front of my bed. Now, because of this, I'm a firm believer. Best believe I'm going to do another one, and I'm really excited for it.
That's really interesting.
We should totally have a session of vision board creating for 2021.
We for sure do. We have to.
What are some goals that y'all have for 2021?
Some of my goals are to show more of my talents and to show myself more, showcase myself to the world, or like be more frequent in just expressing myself enough to make these cool creative projects. And I really want to have that go-getter mindset more so in 2021, because I know we're surrounded by all these opportunities, and I know that all you have to do is like discipline yourself and be consistent and go getting what you want to get. And so I really want to do that this year, and I also want to explore more of California.
Yeah, I think it's a really, like, I feel like me and you are the same boat. I'm kind of boat. Like, I don't really like goals and stuff. I kind of just like do it. But now that you mention that, I feel like that's a really great thing to look forward in 2021, like kind of exploring more and kind of getting out there and just unleashing the beast that has been kept in its cage all of 2020. But yeah, I feel like another thing is that I'm looking forward to change, more and more change and more growth. And I think another goal that I have personally is kind of just falling more in love with yourself. I feel like that's super important. I think that we shouldn't feel so, I think it's kind of often like frowned down on, like people like, oh, like you're so, what's that? I don't know what the word is.
Narcissistic.
Yeah, you're so narcissistic, or like you're so into yourself. But I don't think that necessarily has to be a bad thing, because like you're like appreciating yourself and like, you know, taking yourself all in. And I think that maybe that's something that we can all work on, and I feel like that'd be kind of interesting.
That's a good point.
I love that.
I don't really like to have a set goal, just because every time I have a set goal and I share it too often, it doesn't happen, because I say so much, it just doesn't really encourage me to do it. It's just more like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. I don't know, that's just how it works for me. But some things I do want to focus more on, rather than just like make it like a goal, is more like my health. I mean, pretty much have like a better routine in my lifestyle. One thing, like when Diana said, show my creative side more, I do want to make my Instagram a little bit more prettier and kind of just take pictures of more of interior design stuff.
Yes.
Show my interior
and just
design.
like I think what you mean by that is like express yourself.
Yes.
I need to learn how to express myself more, because that's definitely something I always struggle with.
And you're very creative, and I'm sure you'll creating some very cool projects, Fati.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You just have to apply yourself.
Yeah.
Go get her. Go get it.
Yes, Fati. I really love what you said earlier, Fatima, about reading more, and I think just self-care in general. I feel like we could have a whole different podcast on self-care and things that we do, so I won't go into detail, but I think Ashley hit on the nail too about kind of falling in love with yourself and practicing being in your own company and enjoying yourself and getting to know yourself, because I feel that is so necessary. I was listening to this podcast earlier, literally today, and it's so crazy how it kind of goes on the theme of what we're talking about right now, is On Purpose with Jay Shetty, and he was interviewing Willow and Janavi, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, on their like EP, and I think it was Willow who said, the more you get to know yourself, the better you will be in touching into your passions and kind of doing your purpose here in the world. Like the more that you get to know yourself, the better you'll be able to figure out what that purpose is. And I feel like that's so important, because you just figure a lot about yourself, like the more time that you spend with yourself. And I think that's exactly what this year has been. You know, we have spent a lot of time with ourselves, so we're getting more of an idea of what actually genuinely makes us happy. So I think implementing more of those things into 2021 is what I'm really excited about.
I think we all have things to look forward to in 2021. Graduating, starting a new school is like, that's so huge. You guys will definitely be the first ones to know as that happens to our lives.
Yes.
I'm sure, you know, we're going to graduate and some people don't know what they're going to do, and that's fine. And we're going to figure it out together, and we're going to see where life takes us, and we're going to have no expectations. We're kind of just going to enjoy it.
Exactly.
And kind of set this mood for the rest of our lives. So now it's time for our Discover Her segment. So I kind of want to make this one a little bit different from our previous ones because I feel like we've been learning a lot throughout this episode. So this time I kind of want to say, if you guys could describe 2020 in one word, what would you guys describe it and why? And maybe what's your one word that you would kind of anticipate 2021 to be?
I'm sorry. I feel like we're all gonna say this word, or we're thinking about this word, or it came across our mind. Growth. This year was a lot of growth. And my 2021 word would be curiosity. I think because I'm excited to continue to learn, and I'm curious to see where life goes.
I think a word for me for 2020 is perspective, and that's because there's been numerous perspectives going around and throughout the whole year about different topics, and it was very interesting to learn about each of those perspectives. That really broadened my mind. A word for 2021 would be no expectation, because I do not want to have expectation.
I think I would say is awareness. I feel like we all became aware, whether it be aware of social justice movement, self-aware, aware of the political climate, aware of the pandemic. I think aware is just perfect. And for 2021, I think the word that I would anticipate is forward, just to keep moving forward, keeping the momentum.
Kid Cudi.
Keep moving forward. Yeah, my favorite thing.
A word I would use to describe 2020 is awaken or awakening. It definitely gave me a big slap in the face, how I said previously. It gave me time for growth and time to mature, be more self-aware. And a word I would use to describe, hopefully for 2021, is letting go. Just because I don't want to hold on to so many things that happened in 2021. I just want to use that as a way to learn for 2021.
Alrighty, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you all for the immense amount of support that we have been receiving over the past couple of weeks, especially the month of December with the launch of our podcast. The support and the feedback has been amazing, and we only hope to continue to grow and make this a better learning experience for you all and for us. I'm excited for our journey. There's so much to look for in 2021, and this is just the beginning, which is a beautiful thing. So much to look forward to.
Thank you all for all the support and love. We truly appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts, and we want to send all the love to you guys and all the gratitude, and we are very excited to enter this new year together and stronger, and to build a little family of ours with this Grow As We Go podcast.
Yay!
Thank you all for hearing us and supporting us and keeping up with us, and we truly appreciate all your feedback and support.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to be a united family and grow as we go.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much for making our 2020 a little bit better towards the end. And I'm just so glad that, I would have never thought that we would have had a podcast at the end of 2020, but it's fine. And I'm so happy that we have y'all, and so appreciative for all of your support. For more content, head over to our Instagram at Grow As We Go Podcast. And if you guys didn't know, we upload these episodes on YouTube, so that's a little fun thing. Also, Grow As We Go Podcast. And we hope y'all enjoyed your dose of growth for today. We hope y'all have a very, very amazing and safe, happy new year. And remember to always strive for growth.
We'll see you next year.
Alrighty, bye.
Bye.
Hasta la vista, baby.